तुषार हार धवला या कुंदेन्दु तुषार हार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्करः प्रभृतिभिर् देवै सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा शुक्लां ब्रह्मविचारसार परमा आद्यां जगद्व्यापिनी वीणापुस्तकधारिणी अभयदा जाड्यान्धकारापहा हस्ते स्फाटिकमालिकां विदधति पद्मासने संस्थिता वन्दे तां परमेश्वरी भगवती बुद्धिप्रदां शारदाम्.
Okay. Now, before we start with our session, I would like to mention a special thank to our honorable management members, Mrs. Reena Mehta ma'am, chairperson and founder, Mr. Narendra Mehta sir, vice chairperson and secretary, Mr. Sunny Mehta sir, managing trustee and treasurer, Mrs. Rinki Mehta Nair, secretary and in charge of education, Mrs. Falak Mehta Khan, a trustee member, without whose support this webinar would have not been possible. And with this, I would like to mention a special thank to our degree college principal, Dr. Satinder Kaur Gujral, because when we started, when we decided to involve our students in research paper, we got to know the problem that students are not knowing this concept of research. Many students are there who doesn't know. So immediately she granted permission to start with this session. So thank you so much, ma'am, for allowing us to conduct this session.
Welcome, welcome.
And now I would like to welcome our keynote speaker of the day, Dr. Shraddha Bhume, ma'am, academically who is MCom, MPhil in Commerce and PhD in Commerce qualified. Ma'am has teaching experience of 16 years in undergraduates, 8 years in postgraduates, and ma'am has been a research guide from past 6 years. So far, ma'am has guided 10 students successfully who have completed their PhD under her guidance, and 3 students have submitted their thesis. Ma'am has written 76 textbooks. Just focus on the numbers because I'm overwhelmed with the numbers which I'm seeing right now. 78 textbooks ma'am has written for various universities for undergraduate students and 3 for postgraduate students. And at the same time, ma'am also has 2 reference books in her credit. She has authored and co-authored and presented research papers at various 50 national and international conferences, and more than 125 papers ma'am has so far published. Ma'am has been in editorial board in 5 journals. Ma'am is recipient of 10 plus state, national and international awards for the contribution in education and research. Ma'am has been invited as resource person for more than 50 colleges across the India to deliver various sessions in research methodology. Ma'am has been a member Ma'am has been member for Board of Studies at 5 colleges across University of Mumbai. At present, ma'am is BAF coordinator, I think coordinator for BAF, CS and IT department if I'm not wrong, and also coordinator for MCOM, banking and finance. And at the same time, ma'am is heading a chair of vice principal at Satish Pradhan Gyan Sadhana College, Thane. Well, I welcome you, ma'am. Welcome for the session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I request you now, ma'am, to take over the session.
Yes, very good morning to one and all present over here. Before beginning with the session, I would like to thank wholeheartedly Dr. Gujral ma'am for giving me this opportunity today morning to share with you all about how to write a right research paper. Thank you, Gujral ma'am and management of Reena Mehta College for giving me this wonderful online platform today morning. Yes. So, shall I, ma'am, can you make me a co-host so that I can share the screen? Vaishali ma'am, can you make me the co-host?
Ma'am, you are the co-host now.
Yes, yes. Now I'll start sharing. Yes. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And dear participants, a genuine request. Don't ask in between for any PPT or anything. Once the session gets over, it's already been shared with ma'am. She will be sharing the PowerPoint presentation on your WhatsApp groups. So don't worry, just listen. Keep your written material open so that you can write it down as if you need it. And yes, we shall begin with the things how to write an abstract and effective research paper. The presentation flow for today is first I'll be explaining you all about what is research paper, then how to choose the topic and frame the title from the topic, because there is a difference between topic and the title. Then I'll be explaining you in detail research paper format, and then not only publication aspects of the research paper but also presentation tips for the research paper will be shared with you all. Then I'll be guiding you on abstract writing, and at the end I will be showing you one of the research paper and the PowerPoint presentation which I have made for. Is that clear? In between, if you have any doubt, the chat box is open for you for the same. So now, first and foremost, what is research paper? Research paper, what image comes into mind as you hear those words? Working with stacks of articles, books, hunting the treasure of others' thoughts, whatever image you create, it's sure bet that you are emphasizing source of information, articles, books, people, artworks. Yet, a research paper is more than the sum of your sources, more than a collection of different pieces of information about a topic, more than a review of literature in the field. A research paper analyzes a perspective or argues a point. Regardless of the type of research paper you are writing, your finished research paper should present your own thinking, backed up by others' ideas and the information. So to draw a parallel, a lawyer researches and read about many cases and use them to support his or her own case. A scientist read many case studies to support an idea about the scientific principle. In the same way, a history student writing about Vietnam War might read newspaper articles, books, and reviews veterans to develop or confirm the viewpoint and support it with the evidences. So depending upon your stream, area of research, you may develop your own thoughts with lots of readings. So in short, a research paper is an expanded essay. What is it? Expanded essay that presents your own interpretation or evaluation or argument. So when you write an essay, you use everything that you personally know and have thought about a subject. When you write a research paper, you build upon what you know about the subject and make a deliberate attempt to find out what experts know. So a research paper involves surveying a field of knowledge in order to find the best possible information in that field. And that survey can be orderly and focused. If you know how to approach it, don't worry, you won't get lost in the sea of sources. So in fact, this research voyage, you have to navigate yourself through developing a research question, thesis, and doing research, writing the paper, and correctly documenting the sources. So in short, a research paper is a piece of academic writing which should provide analysis, interpretation, and argument based on in-depth independent research. That is important. In-depth independent research. So research papers are similar to academic essays, but they are longer and more detailed assignments. Any paper requiring the writer to research a particular topic is a research paper, unlike essays, which are often based largely on opinions and are written from the author's point of view. Research papers are based in fact. So research paper requires you to form the opinion on the topic, research on the topic, gain the expert knowledge on that topic, then back up your own opinions and assertions with facts found through your thorough research. So this is what a research paper is. As per our flow, now I will be guiding you on the difference between the topic and the title. Now, let me first give you the example. Suppose nowadays you all know that COVID-19 pandemic situation is going on, right? So this is a topic of the research for some of the conference. COVID-19 pandemic and how we will cope up post-COVID era. So this is a topic of the conference. Yes, it is connected with all the streams and all the faculties. How? If I am an accountancy student, how will I do a research on related to this topic? I may study COVID-19 pandemic situation and its effect on income tax payers. So this is the angle which I will choose upon. Suppose I am a professor and I would like to know what is the impact of this online learning on my students. So I may choose a study between impact of COVID-19 on students' psychology in learning offline versus online. So this can be my another title of the study. I'll give you the third example. If I am a economist and I may choose a topic as a study on impact of COVID-19 pandemic situation on GDP of India with special reference to assessment year 2021 in agriculture sector or in industry sector or on the stock market. See, one topic is there, COVID-19 pandemic, and I have given you the example of various titles which you can frame out of this. You may say, ma'am, I'm a banking and insurance student. So what should I do? So yes, dear students, there are a lot of e-payment apps which have come up. Then a lot of green banking technologies have resulted out of this. So you may search upon various new automation, or if you are an IT person, you can use artificial intelligence, impact of COVID and IT industry growth, and so many on topics you can think of out of the one topic, and you can frame lot of titles out of it. So this is what a difference between the topic and the title. So you all know what do you mean by the topic and what do you mean by the title. So a topic is the main organizing principle guiding the analysis of your research. So topic generally offers the occasion for writing and focus that governs what we want to say. So topics represent the core subject matter of scholarly communication, the means by which we arrive at the topics of conversations and discover the new knowledge. So choosing the topic is the first step in any research process. Be aware that selecting a good topic may not be easy. It must be narrow and focused enough to be interesting and yet broad enough to find adequate information. So pick up a topic that interests you. You are going to live with this topic for the weeks when you are doing a research paper. Write it as an assignment. Choose something that will hold your interest and you might even be excited about. Your attitude towards your topic will come across in your writing as well as in your presentations. So brainstorming is a technique you can use to generate the ideas. I'll give you certain brainstorming techniques. Here is a PPT slide for you. You can have a note of this. Yes. So, certain guidelines for selecting a good research topic. The first one, be open to your ideas. Read few dissertations that will help you to generate ideas. Apply the technique known as concept mapping that will help you to select the topic you may want to explore. So you can look for the topics online as well, because nowadays it is a reliable source. So make an effort to shortlist 3-4 titles so that it becomes easier for you to select the one. The topic should be of your own interest so that you can justify it. The chosen topic should be the one you love to write on, because writing a research paper is not something that you can complete in one day. It takes at least 6 months or 3 to 4 months to complete a research paper. So it is only appropriate to pick the one you are passionate about. In case you are left with a topic that is of no interest to you, then look for that aspects of the topic you would like to research about. Another important point to consider when selecting a research topic is the scope of that topic. It should neither be too broad nor be too narrow. Because if it is too narrow, then you won't be able to provide the complete information. And if it is too large, you maybe find it boring, and not only you, the reader who is reading your research paper will find it boring. So remember, less is more. Be informative, be crispy. Lastly, evaluate the effectiveness of the selected topic by pilot testing. Assume the hypothesis. Look for the types of tests, surveys you need to conduct for getting the realistic results. So be aware that selecting a good topic may not be easy. It must be narrow and focused enough to be interesting, yet broad enough to find adequate information before you selecting your topic. Okay, so this is all about the topic and the title difference. Okay, now let us go for the format of research paper. Just take a quick review of this entire outline of the research paper. I'm just giving you 1 minute to read. I'm just giving you a minute to read. Kindly read this and then I'll start. Yes. Have you gone through the format? The format begins with abstract and the keywords, then introduction, review of literature, statement of problem, objectives of the study, hypothesis if any, limitations, research methodology, analysis and interpretation of data, findings and conclusion, scope for further research, and references. This is an exact format in which you can ideally write your research paper on. Now, in detail, each and every part we are going to see. Are you with me? You can write in the chat box. Am I clear to all of you? Okay. You can write in the chat box if you have stuck up anywhere. If you are not clear, please, I may watch in between the chat box. Yeah. So let's begin with the abstract. What is abstract? Can anybody tell me? Yeah. So abstract, in short, abstract means the first section of the research paper that provides the study's purpose, research questions, main findings with the conclusion. Although you might be tempted to write your abstract first because it will appear as the very first part of your research paper. It's a good idea always to wait to write the abstract until you have drafted your full paper so that you know what you are summarizing. Yes, although abstract appears first, you are not supposed to write it in the beginning. It always has to be once you complete your entire research paper. So abstract is to be written once you completely complete the research work. It is simply the summary of your entire research paper. Ideally, it can be in 200 to 300 words, whereas your entire research paper goes as 2000 to 3000 words of your Microsoft Word A4 size document. So, moreover, this paragraph of about 200 to 300 words should be written when the whole work is finished already. Hence, abstract section should describe the key aspect of the studies, including the discussions about the relevance of findings. You can also read various research abstracts which are written in various journals online. So, what does your abstract should have? It is simply the outline that will serve a clear map of the structure of research study. It should include the background information for your research, general topic under the study, specific topic of your research, the central research questions or statement of problem your research addresses, what's already known about this, that is in previous study, kya mila tha, and try to find out the gap between the existing research work and the current work, the main reason or rationale behind your research, what methodology, analytical methods you have used, and your main finding and conclusion. So your abstract should be intangibly on its own without readers having to read your entire paper. So abstract usually do not cite the references. Most of your abstract will describe what you have studied in your research paper, what you have found, what you argue in your paper. So in the body of your paper, you will cite the specific literature that informs your research. So this is all about writing the abstract. You can see very well on the screen. Your abstract should include background information, statement of problem, rationale or goal, research method, analysis and conclusion. So this is ideally the way of writing the abstract. Make sure that you all will write it once you complete your research paper, not before. Now something which is you can see on the screen is keywords. What do you mean by keywords? Keywords are the important words which you have to search for others' article or others may search and they may find your article on Google, Scholar, Ibisco, Inflibnet, EcoEnlit and various databases. So selecting keywords for the research article is not difficult, but it does not take some strategizing. So the most important component of any research paper is the title. Your title must be specific and certain words or phrases from the title must be the part of your keywords. So your title should be clearly stated. Keywords usage in the body of the article or abstract should follow certain guidelines. The first guideline here is keywords should represent the key concept. Keywords should be descriptive. There can be maximum 3 to 4 keywords. Keyword can be one word or a phrase or a collective understanding of the topic. So the best keywords are proper names, specific procedures, techniques, outcome areas, capitalized events and eras, titles of books, articles. Once keywords and phrases have been determined, the author will need to incorporate them into a well-written piece. So although it is useful to repeat keywords and phrases throughout the article, the repetition should not impair their article's readability, which is paramount. Got it? So keywords are the words that capture the essence of your research paper. Make sure paper is searchable and ensure that you get more citations. Therefore, it is important to include the most relevant keywords that will help other authors to find your paper. That is most important. So, I would like to give you certain tips for effective keywords over here. Think from the point of view of the reader. What keywords would readers search? For that would help to retrieve your article. Keywords should ideally be phrases of 2 to 4 words. Single word keywords are acceptable, but they may lead to many false matches. So keywords should contain words and phrases that suggest what the topic is about. Also include words and phrases that are closely related to the topic. Example, if the paper is about heart disease, use the words like stroke, circulatory system, blood in the keywords. Also use variant terms or phrases that readers are likely to use. For example, if the paper is about spine disorders, use the words like spinal cord, then backbone, like that. So this can be, you can have your keywords upon. So the full form of the shortened words or acronyms, abbreviations should also be included as well. For example, if I'm studying ICT in Cooperative Banks of Thane region, so ICT, Information and Communication Technology, ICT abbreviation will be used by me in the keywords part. So journals ask for anywhere between 3 to 8 keywords. However, I would say it good to have 4 to 5 keywords ready and more depending on the requirement of the journal. Am I clear with this, everyone? Keywords are important. Yes, everyone? Okay. Now I would like to share with you a screen wherein we will go for finding actually with the help of keywords. Okay. Is my Google screen visible to all of you? Suppose I am doing a research on green banking technology in India. Okay. So what can be the search I can have? I may write green banking and I want to have various research papers by others. See, I have just put up, Sonia, I'm muting you, beta. Sorry. So green banking, I may write in Google Scholar, I may write research paper. So green banking, if I want a paper on green banking and sustainability, I may get so many scholarly articles within few seconds. So this is a literature which is available for me to do the review on. That will be helpful with the help of keywords and give the citations and use it as a reference for my study. So this is how you can do a study on Google Scholar, which is a common database nowadays used by all the research scholars across the globe. See, how many articles are posted since 2022, since 2021, 2018. You can customize your range of the year of publication. You can sort by date. You can include the patents. You can include the citations, and you can create the alert on Google Scholar. So many facilities, dear participants, you can get it on Google Scholar. See, 1,08,000 articles on green banking I have found out for the literature review, for understanding the concepts. So make sure that your choice of keywords is effective so that others can refer your article and you get the citation for the same. For the same topic, I have got 98 citations so far since last 5 years. From the PhD, I am doing a survey on green banking and I have got 98 citations. And why this is so? Because of proper keywords. Hope you have understood this. So this is what I wanted to tell you about the abstract and the keywords. Now let us focus on introduction part of your research paper. This is an introductory part. You will cover 3 paragraphs ideally about the introduction. What that 3 paragraphs should cover? Need for research, statement of problem, and conceptual framework related to topic. Now, what is conceptual framework? Ideally, conceptual framework is nothing but a theoretical background of your study. Okay. Then, why actually you have come to this research work? That is nothing but need for the research. 1 paragraph you may write upon. And then you may go for statement of problem. So this is simply to convey rationale of the proposed work and should give background setting which has prompted you to do the work. Some studies, some previous data you can support for this. So this is how you can go for entirely about the introduction. Ideally, 3 paragraphs or 3/4 page of 1 A4 size is expected from the researchers to write as an introduction in your research paper. Am I clear with abstract and the introduction part? You can write in the chat box so I do understand whether you have understood, or there is a double entry, debit what comes in and credit what goes out. Fair enough. Let us focus on literature survey or review of literature. What is it? A literature review surveys scholarly articles, books, and other sources relevant to a particular issue, area of research, theory, and by so doing, providing a description, summary, critical evaluation of these works. So literature reviews are designed to provide an overview of sources you have explored while researching a particular topic and to demonstrate to your readers how your research fits into the larger field of study. So a literature review may consist of summary of key sources. It is usually one organizational pattern which combine both summary and synthesize, often with specific conceptual categories. So a summary is a recap of important information of the source, but a synthesize is reorganization or rather reshuffling of that information in a way that informs how you are planning to investigate a research problem. So the analytical feature of literature review might give a new interpretation to the old material or combine the new with the old interpretations. So you have to trace the intellectual progression in the field, including major debates that is expected from the researcher. So depending on the situation, evaluate the sources, advise the reader on most pertinent or relevant one, and usually In conclusion of literature review, try to identify where gap exists in how a problem has been researched till date. So there are 5 steps which every researcher should do while doing a literature review. Number 1, search for relevant literature. Number 2, evaluate the sources. Number 3, identify the themes, debates, and the gaps. Outline the structure and then write your literature review. Am I clear with the concept of writing the literature review? You can write in the chat box. Any doubts so far? Okay. So a good literature review doesn't just summarize the sources, but it analyzes, it synthesizes, and critically evaluate to give a clear picture of the state of knowledge on the subject. Am I clear? So you don't have to just summarize. Now I want to give you here a very pretty example which I commonly give in my sessions. Do you have the book? Yes. This is a book with you. The book has 2 pages. One is on the left-hand side and one is on the right-hand side. Download all the articles. Save that articles in your computer or a laptop. While saving that, give the number as 1, 2, 3, 4, rename them. And in your notebook, on the left-hand side page, you give the heading on the top 1. Then keep the right-hand side page blank. Again, go to the next page and write down 2 on the next page. Again, keep this page blank and then again go on the next page. Give the heading as 3. Okay. So once you read number 1 article, you are supposed to go on the number 1 page, left-hand side part. Write down what you feel after reading the research paper. Of course, love at first sight. हम लोग किसी का रिसर्च पेपर पहले बार पढ़ते हैं तो we feel, wow, what a research work, commendable work, tremendous work by Shraddha Bhume. Oh my God. Yes. So whatever you feel related to that topic, write down on the left-hand side page of your that notebook here on this side. And then after 3-4 days, you read. And that time, you have to be little curious. You have to be little critic. Shraddha Bhume ने वो research में क्या नहीं किया है? That you try to find out. And write down on the right-hand side page of your work. And then, when you actually write the review of literature, read the positive points, read the negative points, combine it together and try to analyze and synthesize your actual review of literature. That is called as summarizing, synthesizing, analyzing, and critically evaluating the other's research work. That is expected in review of literature. So, there are many styles or types of writing the literature review. You may go for argumentative review, interrogative review, historical review, methodological review, so, and systematic review, theoretical review. So, you can structure very well according to your format of research work. So, when you are adopting certain writing style for review of literature, it should include the overview of the subject, issue or the theory under consideration, along with the objectives of literature review. So, division of work under the review into themes or categories that will help you. Then explanation of how each work is similar to and how it varies from others. So conclusion as to which pieces are best considered in their argument, are most convincing of their opinion. and make the greatest contribution to the understanding and development of their area of research. So the critical evaluation of each work should consider what are the author's credentials, are the author's arguments supported by the evidence, is the author's perspective even handed or prejudicial, is contrary data considered, or is certain pertinent information ignored to prove the author's point, which of the authors these are most convincing, are are the author's arguments and conclusions convincing, does the work ultimately contribute in any significant way to understand the subject. Then develop your literature review in 4 stages. The first stage in literature review is problem formulation. Which topic or field is being examined and what are the component issues? Then search or find the material relevant to the subject being explored. Then evaluate the data. Determine which literature makes a significant contribution to the understanding of the topic. And then, go for discussions and findings, conclusions pertinent to literature. This is how one can go for literature review. So, consider certain points while writing the literature review. Number 1, clarify roughly how many sources I should include, what type of sources I should review, books, journals, websites. Should I summarize, synthesize, or critique all the sources by discussing a common theme? Should I evaluate the sources? Should I provide subheadings and other background information, such as definition or history in the review of literature part? Try to find out the models designed by other authors and try to narrow down the topic of your research. The narrower your topic, it is easier for you to limit the number of sources you need to read so that you can get good literature reviews. Your professor will probably not expect you to read everything that is available about the topic, but you make your job easier if you first limit your scope of research problem. So a good strategy is to begin by searching is the Homer catalog, Homer. You can search upon Homer catalog for books about the topic and review their contents for the chapters that focus on specific issues. So you can also review some subject index of books to find references to specific issues. For example, a book surveying the history of Israeli-Palestinian conflict may include chapter on role of Egypt has played in mediating that conflict too. So consider whether your sources are current as possible. This is very common in science, where research conducted only 2 years ago could get obsolete, and in IT, within 6 months, it gets obsolete. So, however, when writing a review in the social sciences, a survey of history of literature may be what is needed, because what is important is how perspective have changed over the years within that time period. So you should know the updates. Yes. Then, how to write the literature review? Go with chronology of the events. You could write about the materials according to when they are published. So this approach should be only followed if the clear path of research building on a previous research is identified and you know the trends. You know the trends, how it has been evolved. Then by publication, you can do it by demonstrating more important trends. Then you may go as per the thematic way. That means conceptual categories, how the topic is progressed and so on. That is a thematic interpretation. Then methodological review of literature also can be written. And yes, when you write the literature review, you have to keep this in mind. A literature review in this scene is only in academic writing research paper. Your interpretations of available sources must be backed by the evidence. So that evidence must be there. Therefore, you are adding the literature review in the research paper. Nothing else. मैं जो कह रही हूं उसका कुछ तो एविडेंस होना चाहिए करके वो रिव्यू ऑफ लिटरेचर आ रहा है एंड देन योर जॉब इज टू फाइंड आउट द गैप एक्चुअली in this. So you are not supposed to do a paraphrasing as it is over here. When paraphrasing a source that is not your own, be sure you represent the author's information or opinions accurately in your own words, because there should not be plagiarism. So you should avoid certain things while writing the literature review. Source in your literature review. Do not clearly cut, copy and paste others' material as yours. You do not take sufficient time to define and identify the sources in literature review related to research problem. Relies exclusively on secondary analytical sources rather than including relevant primary search studies. Only include research that validates the assumptions, does not consider contrary findings and alternatives and interpretations. So this is a way you have to ideally include minimum 10 review of literatures in your research paper so that you can identify the research gap. So what is a research gap? It is a problem which is not addressed properly. So this may be due to lack of sufficient information, also literature gap which are missing or incomplete piece of data in the research literature that has not been explored or ventured so far. So it can be anything to everything from population of sample, sample size, type of population, anything. It may arise due to failure in understanding the working of particular instrument, new technological advances. So research gaps can be identified by citation analysis, systematic review, and in introduction section of research articles, and finally in the discussion and further research sections in the research paper. कहाँ पे मिलेगा आपको गैप? Number 1, by citation analysis, by systematic reviews. Of course, you go on reading, so you understand. Then ideally you can get an introduction section of your research paper, I mean others paper which you are reviewing. Also you may find the gap in discussion and scope for further research part, क्योंकि वो पार्ट ऐसा होता है जो आपने कवर नहीं किया है और आप आगे कवर करना चाहते हो. So where you will find the research gap is in this part: systematic review, citation analysis, then your findings, then your discussions, and your scope for further research, which researchers already have published. Okay. So the easiest way to find it in introduction, conclusion, suggestions for future research section. So this is from the research gap. It is the duty of any researcher to find out the statement of problem. As you can see the 4th point in your PPT slide. So a research problem is a statement about the area of concern, a condition to be improved, a difficulty to be eliminated, or it is a troubling question that exists in the scholarly literature, in theory or in practice, that points to the need for meaningful understanding and deliberate investigation. In some social science discipline, the research problem is typically posed in the form of question. So a research problem does not state how to do something, offer a vague or broad proposition, or a present value question. So therefore, the research problem statement, what is the purpose behind is to introduce the reader to the importance of topic which is being studied, places the problem into a particular context that defines the parameters of what is to be investigated. So you have to ask, so what question to yourself. So what? So what question refers to a research problem, surviving the relevancy test. Not that the answering so what question requires a commitment on your part, but you have to research the material and you have to thought about its significance. That is important from you. Am I clear with statement of problem? So what you are going to find out and why you want to find out is nothing but a statement of problem. For example, COVID-19 pandemic and effect on various e-payment apps. So COVID has come up, touchless technology has been designed, contactless cards have come up, even rickshawalas are offering GPay and various other e-payment apps, phone pay. So that made me to do a research on this topic. So this is a statement of problem in my case. Am I clear with the example, every one of you? You can write in the chat box. So far clear, or it's a boring one? Am I boring you? Okay. So this is a statement of problem and this is review of literature slide. Here you will get this presentation from Gujral ma'am for sure. Now let us focus. Once we are done with the statement of problem, we have to go for writing the objectives of the study. For ideally any research paper, 3 to 4 objectives are more than sufficient. Now let us concentrate on research objectives. While writing the objectives, I have always observed that many people write the objectives with the word to study, and to study. No, we are supposed to use certain similar words for that. So it can be to study, to understand, to evaluate, to discuss, to analyze, and yes, to find, to give solution. Ideally, why do we do a research? To give solution to the society, right? So while writing the objectives of any research, you should keep certain points in the mind. There should be one main aim of research and not more than 5-6 underlying objectives. This is because if there are too many objectives of research, there are fair chances of data overload and data mismanagement may come, and your research will become ambiguous and vague in this case. Is that clear? So the objectives of the research should be SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. It must be SMART. It should be clear, concise, attainable, measurable, and quantifiable. Your objectives must be like that. So the objectives of the research should be SMART. Now, I would like to give you here a pretty example. Chalo, let us do a research on impact of TV ads on consumers' buying behavior. Write down in your notebook. This is a topic I want to study. Write it down. Impact of television advertising on consumers' buying behavior. Have you written? लिखा? चलो, क्या बताया लिखने को? Impact of television advertising on consumer buying behavior. अभी हम लोगों का एक काम हम करते हैं जहां पे हम बनाएंगे अपने ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को, ठीक है? सो फर्स्टली रीड द टाइटल ऑफ द रिसर्च वेरी केयरफुली. क्या टाइटल लिखा हम लोगों ने? We have written impact TV advertising consumer buying behavior. Yes. So read the title of the research very carefully and write down whatever you understand by the title. चलो लिखो सब लोग. आपको क्या समझा टाइटल पढ़ के? बस मुझे इतना ही समझा कि there are certain important terms. Number one, you can write in the chat box. Come on everyone. What have you understood with the title? This is a title, Impact of Television Advertising on Consumer Buying Behavior, right? So what are the terms you have understood? Come on, write in the chat box. I have just understood the two things I want to study. Television advertising and consumer buying behavior. Isn't it, my dear students? Yes? Yes, TV advertising से viewers किस हिसाब से consumption behavior change करते हैं. Am I, Aditya, you're perfectly perfect. Yes, Riya, consumer buying behavior. Yes, 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 and television. So I have understood that if we consider the example here, the main terms we can identify in the title are television advertising and consumer buying behavior. So the previous steps gives us the fair idea of the direction of research. We can easily say that research will revolve around the concept of TV advertising and consumer buying behavior. Now start stating the research objective here by exploring and understanding the main terms. So how my first objective will be? I'll tell you. To explore and understand the concept of TV advertising and consumer buying behavior. मेरा पहला ऑब्जेक्टिव होगा खाली कंसेप्ट को समझ के लेना. Explore and understand the concept of किसका? TV advertising का and consumer के buying behavior का. Am I clear? First objective. Now, focus on basic purpose of research. In present example, what is the main purpose of research? To study the impact. किसका? TV advertising का. किस पे? Consumer के buying behavior पे. So it is important to adopt critical attitude towards the research subject. That is, try to validate if there exists any relationship between these two terms. So my second objective here goes as to identify if any relationship between TV ad and consumer buying behavior. Got it? I'll repeat again. My second objective here, I would like to adopt a critical attitude a bit. I will try to identify if any relationship between TV ad and consumer buying behavior. So here my second objective is marching me towards the research. Next objective should directly pinpoint the purpose of research in hand. So it is to be remembered here that any research should bring into focus positive and negative aspect of research. So critical analysis is important part of any research. So my next objective will be to identify and critically analyze the impact of TV ad on consumer buying behavior. Have you understood? Third objective, I am identifying and critically analyzing the impact of TV ad on consumers' buying behavior. Finally, the last objective is the most of the researchers relates to identify challenge, loopholes, shortcomings, and making the recommendations to improve the situation. And that is where we have to do a research on. Why? Because we have to identify, we have to finalize the loopholes, we have to finalize the shortcomings, and then only we can give the suggestions or recommendations to improvise the situation. So this objective is written keeping in mind what researcher is looking forward. That is the final destination of the researcher. So my final objective can be to identify the challenges involved in TV ad and recommend the marketers the solution to have the better consumer buying behavior. I'll repeat. How my last objective will be. Actually, I need to give certain solution to the society. And yes, there are certain loopholes, there are certain shortcomings in TV ad. That is a reason public immediately change the new TV channel when the ad comes or ad appears. So my objective is to identify the challenge in what? किसमें? In TV ad. वो चैलेंज है तो किसको फायदा होगा? मार्केटर्स को. कैसे? By giving certain solution. किसके related? To secure better consumer buying behavior. So my last objective of my research paper will be to identify the challenges involved in TV advertising and recommend the marketers the solution to secure better consumer buying behavior. So this is how, my dear participants, I will write the objectives of the study. As you all know, objectives are always followed with the hypothesis. For students level, is okay if you write the hypothesis or not. But teachers, while writing a research paper, you should have the hypothesis involved. Now, what do you mean by the word hypothesis? A definition is very deadly. A proposition, a statement, blah blah blah, so long definition is given. Yes, anyone can write the definition of hypothesis in the chat box. Till the time I'll have water. Anyone? What do you know? Yeah, it's assumption, it's imagination. Okay, very good. You're close at Nitika and Rahul. Very well. Ria, assumptions, right? Okay. I'll give you a simple example here. Okay. Yeah. Aditya, perfect. An idea or theory that hasn't been yet proven. Yeah, Yasin, it's suppose. Perfect. Perfect. You all are on the right track. According to me, hypothesis is one statement. क्या है hypothesis? It is a one statement जिसमें दो आंसर्स होते हैं. One answer is positive, second answer is negative. Hypothesis is a statement which has two answers. One is positive, second is negative. So by definition, it is a proposition, number of propositions that reflect the prediction. It is a statement that assumes the relationship between independent and dependent variable. In research, hypothesis provide the basis for data collection. It is on which one can frame the questionnaire. So in short, according to me, it is a statement which has two answers, positive, negative. Positive is the one you may. So TV advertisements and consumer buying behavior are not dependent on each other. And alternate hypothesis can be TV ads and consumer buying behavior are dependent on each other. So एक ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को दो हाइपोथेसिस बनता है. One is null, which is a negative, and another is alternate, that is H1, H0 and H1. This is how you have to write two hypotheses for one objective. Out of the two, one will be accepted, other will be rejected. Is that clear? Not all types of research require hypothesis. The need for framing the hypothesis actually, stems from the research questions and the research methodology. So it depends on the research approach, research type, and the research method when you frame. So when it comes to your descriptive research, one aims to collect the data information. Then you have to draw the conclusions with the help of statistics. Then you need to frame the hypothesis. अभी मैं आपको एक सिंपल टेक्निक बताती हूँ कि कैसे आपको हाइपोथेसिस फ्रेम करना है. So you all know the H0 indicates the null hypothesis, which is a negative hypothesis with the word not. And H1 is an alternate hypothesis, which is a positive hypothesis. So when you are framing the hypothesis, एक काम करो, आपका नोटबुक ओपन करो, मैं आपको एक सिंपल टेक्निक बताती हूँ कैसे हाइपोथेसिस बनाना है, तो आपको टेंशन नहीं आएगा. ठीक है? तो मेक अ फ्लो चार्ट. Make a flow chart before framing the hypothesis. So this is called a conceptual framework. It helps in framing the hypothesis in systematic way. In the conceptual framework, list down all the independent variables on the left hand side and all the dependent variable on the right hand side. There will be only one dependent variable which you will write on the right hand side, and others independent variables you will make a list on left hand side piece of the page. Now we will take example. Suppose I am finding job satisfaction of employees and the reasons behind job satisfaction. So job satisfaction is the dependent variable which I will write here on the right hand side part of the page. And what are the reasons of job satisfaction of the employees? They may get good salary, good working conditions, then good supporting staff they have, then they may get promotions, transfers very easily, they may get good incentives from the company. Several reasons are there for the job satisfaction. So jot down all that reasons which are independent variables on the left hand side of the page. And then, following the conceptual framework, independent variables should come on the left hand side of the hypothesis and dependent variable should come on the right hand side of the hypothesis. In between, include the words like impact, influence, effect, relationship, association, and write the hypothesis now. लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में क्या लिखा आप लोगों ने? वेरियस फैक्टर्स, राइट? कौन कौन से? प्रमोशन, ट्रांसफर, देन यू माइट हैव रिटन गुड हेल्दी वर्किंग एनवायरनमेंट, ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला. सो हम लोग अभी हाइपोथेसिस फ्रेम करते हैं. गुड इंसेंटिव्स and timely payment of salary with promotion have no impact on क्या? Job satisfaction. Have impact on job satisfaction. So this is what a hypothesis is, H0 with the word not. Another hypothesis we will frame. There is no relationship between promotion, growth of employee, good working environment, and job satisfaction. So I have used the word relationship. How will be my alternate hypothesis? There is a relationship between good working environment and job satisfaction. So I can frame number of hypotheses with independent variable on the left hand side and dependent variable on the right hand side. In between, I will make the fill-ups with the word impact, influence, effect, relationship, association. So I can frame my hypothesis very easily. So this is how one can frame the hypothesis in detail. So a hypothesis often follows a basic format. If this happens, then this will happen. So one way to structure your hypothesis is to describe what will happen to the dependent variable if you make the changes in independent variable. So the basic format might be, if these changes are made to certain independent variable, then we will observe the change in dependent variable. So students who eat breakfast will perform better in the lectures in morning than students who do not eat the breakfast. So this is a hypothetical statement. Students who experience text anxiety prior to accountancy exam will get high scores than the students do not experience test anxiety. So this is what a hypothesis is. So the first step before constructing the hypothesis is thorough review of existing literature on the topic of research. After literature review, identify gaps in the literature, then narrow down the research problem to fulfill the gap. Then the research problem needs to be stated in terms of research objectives or research questions. Following research question, identify the independent and dependent variables. Frame the statement of hypothesis which reflect a prediction and testable. The results of the hypothesis testing directly help to answer research questions, draw conclusions for the study. I hope I am clear to you as far as the concept of hypothesis is. Now, let us move on to research methodology. This explains in brief the course of action that you are going to take in order to achieve your research work. So how are you going to carry your research work? Is your research methodology. It should include which area or universe of research you are trying to cover. How are you going to meet the samples? Who will be your sample? How you are going to choose that sample respondents? Which method of data collection you are following? Yes, of course, primary and secondary. But in primary, which method are you going to adopt? So whether questionnaire or observation or Google survey or surveymonkey.com, other websites, or through a group interview or focus group interviews, you have to write in detail how are you going to structure your primary data and secondary data collection. So this is how data analysis tools which you are adopting. Chi-square test, F-test, Z-test, T-test, correlation, mean median mode. What statistical analysis tools are you going to adopt has to be written by you in your research methodology paragraphs. Ideally, research paper 7 पेज में लिखना होता है. So many times we found the space is very low, very less. And that is the reason I have found out this on my own, a table with universe of research, sampling method, sample size, method of primary data collection. You can see the table on the right hand side part of my PPT presentation. You make the table and just write down in one or two words the answer to respective part in the table. No need to write paragraphs after paragraphs. You can explain that when you are presenting your research paper. Focus more on research methodology rather than theoretical aspect of the search. In my next presentation, we will cover that after certain 5 minutes more. Now finally we add the analysis and interpretation of data. Seems you have collected the data and now you need to interpret it, analyze it. So we are on the analysis and interpretation of data. You have to represent the things to your tables, graphs, and diagrams, and you need to analyze and interpret in your own words what you are what have found out actually from the data collection. So you can use online sources like SPSS or R statistics or online and yes, our Excel is also very well in providing you this kind of analysis and statistical techniques you can use through. So this is how you can use various tables, graphs, and do a statistical analysis in the part of analysis and interpretation. So we are at the findings and conclusion. The conclusion is nothing but what we have understood entirely by doing the research work. It is intended to help the reader to understand why your research should matter to them after they have finished reading the paper. So a conclusion is not merely the summary of main topics covered, but it is a restatement of your research problem and synthesis on the key points and if applicable where you recommend new areas for future research. So most of the college level research papers, one or two well developed paragraphs are sufficient for a conclusion, although in some of the cases uh, 3 or more paragraphs may be required by you. Okay, so then you need to write the suggestions and recommendations to introduce your research paper, the essential to the plans you have move your field of the study forward. So recommendations are the added suggestions that you want your people to follow while performing the future studies. So they are based on what you have found and what you might have interested in doing at some point in the future. Then comes your scope for further research. यहाँ पे आपको खुद को डेवलप करना है कि मुझे आगे जाके क्या रिसर्च करना है, what I am going to do it, how I will do it. So that line you have to add before the references. Then you have to write the references. Referencing means giving the credit, citations to whom you have referred to while researching the areas. You can write in APA style format or Chicago, Michigan style format, whatever is being told to you while doing this. So referencing is research is you have to give the citations to those who have you have worked or you have referred your work for. So it allows for acknowledgement of the users of others' opinions, ideas, theories, inventions. So you have to start with author's surname, then name, then the book's name or the research paper's name, journal name, if any, publisher's name, then the details of when it has got published and all, so on and so forth in that. Okay, so it helps the readers to evaluate the extent of writer's reading, and it enables the reader to visit the source of material for themselves actually, so that it will be out of plagiarism. And yes, we have discussed everything about the abstract, right? It is a summary of a longer work. either a dissertation or a project or a thesis or a research paper. The abstract concisely report the aims and outcomes of your research, so the readers know how exactly and what exactly you have written in your research paper. 4 main contents of your abstract: your research problem, objective, method you have adopted, your key results, and your conclusion. So 150 to 300 words are ideally expected for that. So this is all about writing a research paper. Now, I will give you the tips for ideal presentation of the research paper. 7 minutes, 7 slides, and 7 pages of research paper is ideally 7 by 7 by 7 is a tip for ideal presentation. While doing a presentation, focus on objectives, methodology, finding, conclusion, recommendation, and scope for further research. ये पॉइंट्स हो गया चेक. आप बोलोगे मैम व्हाट अबाउट इंट्रोडक्शन? जस्ट गिव इट इन हाफ मिनट व्हेन यू प्रेजेंट. नाउ this is all about writing the research paper and presenting the research paper. That's all from my side today morning or today afternoon. Now, next I will be showing you a research paper written by me so that you can get the idea how to write the right research paper. This is a research paper. Can you see? Please text me in the chat box.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Yes. So this is a research paper. See, a paper written by 2 authors. I have done a superscript for this. So person, हम लोग का नाम and all details are written at the end. Author's details, you can say. Abstract is written in the italic form. Times New Roman. All headings are with 12 size, bold and underline. These are certain guidelines you need to follow when you write the research paper. Okay. Introduction is written. Now see, my title is Statistical Anxiety of Commerce Research Scholars while performing the statistical analysis. So my keywords, देखो, statistical anxiety, statistical analysis, कॉमर्स रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स. आपको अगर पेपर मेरा सर्च करना है तो ये कीवर्ड्स डाल के आप सर्च कर सकते हो. देन आई हैव रिटन द इंट्रोडक्शन. इंट्रोडक्शन में मैंने क्या क्या फोकस किया देखो. नंबर 1, स्टैटिस्टिक्स, डेटा एनालिसिस, इंटरप्रिटेशन क्या होता है. उसके बाद में स्टैटिस्टिकल एनालिसिस इन रिसर्च का क्या इंपॉर्टेंस होता है. देन स्टैटिस्टिक एंजाइटी क्या होता है and reasons for statistical anxiety. So this is how introduction is written. Then देखो objectives में. Her objective is not with what to study. I am just increasing the size. Is it visible more? देखो, to study, to find, to understand and to suggest. 4 objectives हैं, अलग अलग words use किए. Then review of literature is there. Then hypotheses are framed. H0 with the word no significance. H1 is significance. Then I have written a research methodology as told to you all in the form of table. Limitations of my study. And then analysis and interpretation. As I am not student, I have not only used the graphs and bar chart and all, but I can use it. I have used statistical techniques, and I have also presented with the help of diagram, and statistical analysis is done. Hypotheses are tested. Mann-Whitney test is been applied. You are not supposed to. You can have your diagrams and table, no issues. And then write the interpretations on it. Write down findings and conclusion based on the study. Suggestion, scope for further research, and this is how you will write the references. And yes, I am adding an extra blank copy of the questionnaire. This is a questionnaire for the reference I am giving to all. So this is how a research paper is being written. Now, I will tell you how to have a PPT of this same paper. So this is the first slide. That is the title page wherein I have written all my credentials, my co-author's credentials, where I'm presenting my PPT and all. Then the first slide goes as introduction. It should have less information as possible. In the second slide, I have summed up objectives, limitations, and hypothesis of my study. Then in the next slide, I have focused on research methodology. And then two slides only, I have concluded all my interpretation parts. I have added table over here. You can add the graphs also, depends what you want. Then add the findings and conclusions in one slide. Then go for suggestions and scope for further research. Don't forget to add references. And thank you. This is how you are supposed to write the right research paper, present the right research paper, and you will be able to find it as easy as possible. Thank you so much for the patient listening. Forum is open for questions and answers.
Okay. If you have students any doubt, please write your questions in the chat box.
No questions.
I think you have made this like research paper writing so, yes, very nicely. It has been explained. So
Some questions are from students.
is scope of research necessary?
No need, but yes, scope for further research indicates, because research, when I was doing my PhD, my guide, Dr. Jha sir, he told me, Shraddha, don't fall in love with your research anymore, because otherwise it is a never ending process. So you have to stop your research somewhere, and where you stop, something comes up. So you have to have the scope for always further research. So you should add, ideally, scope for further research in your research paper.
Right. There is one more question. If we write our own research paper, but it's still showing as copied from other, what to do then?
From other to whom you have referred to, you should add that in the reference section as a citation. So understand how to write the citation, paraphrase it, write in your own language. And that is the reason I told you, bacha, make a notebook while writing a review of literature. Most of the time we found the paraphrasing in ROL part. So you write in your own words. Left hand side page, all positive aspect of the research paper. Right hand side, all negative aspect of others' research paper. And combine it together, you will have your own literature review. So you will not fall in trouble of this plagiarism.
Okay. Any other questions, anyone? Okay. So
Yes, done.
how many pages will be good for literature review? One more question.
Pages. Ideally, you go for at least 10 research papers or 5-7 research papers, 1 or 2 books while doing searching for the topic. Students, for your age, that is sufficient. But when you will go for your TY projects, 100 marks projects, you have to have at least 25 research papers, then 3-4 books, 1 or 2 thesis or dissertations. So the scale, as it gets increased, you have to increase the literature review. Okay. And writing बोलेगा तो आप लोग at least 10 लाइन तो होना चाहिए written part about the ROL. As I said, follow that methodology.
So for research paper, at least half a page, we can say that half a page of literature review should be there. One more question. Topics, Misbah, it will be suggested by your teacher guide. So don't worry about it. We had used Grammarly site for plagiarism checking. Can we use further?
Yes, so many plagiarism sites are available on Google. You can, and there are some paid also. So better to use paid ones if you are doing a thorough research. Otherwise, आप जो डालते हो वो भी दूसरा कोई यूज करेगा और आपका ही प्लेगरिज्म में आ जाएगा. ऐसा
Correct.
नहीं होना चाहिए.
Right, right. Okay. Any other questions? Students, faculties? Okay. Okay, so ma'am, why evidence is needed on research paper to prove it, but what if we don't find any of what can we do to prove our research?
अरे दूसरा कोई यूज करेगा ना तेरा रिसर्च, सो यू कांट हैव पेटेंट ऑन इट. जैसे इंडिया में हो गया, हल्दी का पेटेंट अमेरिका वालों ने ले लिया. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए ना. सो यू शुड हैव अ लेबल, श्रद्धा भूमे हैज डन अ रिसर्च ऑन दिस. नहीं तो वैशाली मैम ले लेगी मेरा रिसर्च. सो देयर शुड बी अ टैग.
Yes, correct. I hope, Merlin, your doubt is clear. Okay. So I think a few days back only we had one session on conversion of research into patent. So there also we had seen China ka graph was very high in patent in last few years. So now we also have to, move our graph, and for that we need to prepare our younger generation for research so that we can move ahead in that direction. So keeping that intention in mind only, we had kept this particular session. So thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out time from your schedule and giving your time to our students to share your knowledge with us. You gave insight on the areas which needs to be covered in research paper. You also gave idea on how to use Google Scholars search engine in order to find out whether the literature review existing literature review which can be referred by the students. So thank you so much, ma'am, for being here with us. At the same time, I also would like to mention that the coordinators and teaching, non-teaching staff, technical staff who has supported for today's session. Thank you so much. Once again, thank you all the participants for being a patient listener. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving this opportunity to share the little experience of me with you all this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Shall I leave?
Yes, ma'am. And one more thing, I'll be sharing a feedback link with you all in the chat box. So please do not forget to give your feedback, because otherwise you will not get your certificates.
Yes.
I'll just share the...
Ma'am, I have shared the PPT presentation with Gujral ma'am yesterday night. So you can share that in your students groups, and even if you have a WhatsApp group of participants already, and just make sure that you will make a PDF of it and send. I guess I have made a PDF only and sent it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. And it is live, no YouTube, so students can watch definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Bye, ma'am.
Bye.